Welcome to Heart and Hustle, where love meets mindset. I'm Courtney Ryan, and I'm here to help you level up your heart, your hustle, and your life. Let me start with something that might surprise you. Every middle-aged woman wants to touch this place, but she never admits it. It's not the place you're thinking of. It's not a secret, dark fantasy, and it's not some wild, forbidden thing. The place I'm talking about isn't even always physical. It's emotional, it's spiritual, and it's deeply personal. It's the place inside her where she still feels alive, desired, feminine, and free. You see, as women, especially as we move into our 30s, 40s, 50s, life starts to weigh differently on our shoulders. We've given, we've cared, we've sacrificed, and somewhere in the process of being everything for everyone else, we forget what it feels like to be touched in the way we crave most, not just by hands, but by energy, by presence, by admiration. The place I'm talking about is that part of her soul that whispers late at night, I'm still here. I still want to feel. I still want to be seen. It's not about vanity. It's not about attention. It's about the deep, unspoken truth that every middle-aged woman carries quietly inside her heart. She wants to touch that place of radiance and passion again. The place where she remembers she's more than just a mom, more than just a wife, more than just a professional with deadlines, bills, and responsibilities. She wants to touch the part of herself that used to feel unstoppable, magnetic, glowing. The part of herself that could walk into a room and feel like the world noticed her. But here's the thing, she rarely admits it. Why? Because society has told her she shouldn't. Because somewhere along the way, she learned that desire, beauty, and longing belong to the young. That after a certain age, women are supposed to shrink into the background. That passion is reckless, self-indulgent, or worse, shameful. So she hides it. She tucks it away behind a busy calendar, behind her children's needs, behind the role she plays as caretaker, peacemaker, provider. And yet, it never goes away. Every middle-aged woman craves to feel alive, desired, and feminine again. This craving is not superficial. It's not about vanity, and it's not about chasing the past. It is about reconnecting with something deeply human that exists in all of us, but especially in women who have spent years pouring themselves into others, often neglecting their own emotional, spiritual, and even physical needs. Think about it. A woman in her 20s feels the world's gaze almost effortlessly. She is often told she's beautiful, radiant, and full of promise. But as the years go by, as responsibilities pile on, as life becomes about children, careers, marriages, bills, and aging parents, she starts to feel that gaze shifting away. The compliments slow down, the admiring looks become rare, and the world doesn't treat her with the same reverence it once did. Yet inside of her, nothing has truly changed about her desire to be seen, touched, and cherished. In fact, that desire becomes stronger because she now understands just how fleeting life is and how essential it is to feel connected, not only to others but to herself. When a woman reaches middle age, she often stands at a crossroads. One path is where she gives in to the societal narrative that says her best years are behind her, that desire is for the young, that her role now is to serve quietly and gracefully fade into the background. The other path is where she refuses to surrender her aliveness, where she chooses to embrace her femininity in all its depth, wisdom, and beauty. This is why the craving is so strong, because at this stage, she knows more than ever that her identity cannot just be wrapped around what she does for others. She wants to reclaim her womanhood in the fullest sense. She wants to feel sensual, magnetic, and unforgettable, not for external validation, but because it affirms that her essence is still alive and burning. It is so often misunderstood. People assume that when a woman says she wants to feel desired, she is chasing compliments, or worse, that she is desperate for attention. But the truth is far more profound. Feeling desired is about being seen in the deepest way. It is about knowing that she still carries power, mystery, and allure. It is about feeling like her energy has the ability to stir emotion, to inspire passion, and to matter. When she feels alive in this way, her whole world transforms. She becomes more confident, more radiant, more present. Her laughter is louder, her eyes sparkle brighter, and her energy becomes magnetic again because she is no longer dimming her own light. The craving to feel feminine again is not about going backward. It's not about being 21 forever. It's about stepping fully into womanhood as it evolves. Femininity at middle age is richer, deeper, more layered than it was in youth. It carries experience, wisdom, resilience. It's not about a flawless face or a perfect body. It's about the energy she radiates when she feels seen and wanted. That's why this craving is universal. No matter how confident or accomplished a woman may be, there's always a part of her that longs to feel like she matters in that deeply feminine way. She wants to feel like she can still turn heads, still spark passion, still awaken something inside of others, because in doing so, she awakens something inside herself. This desire is also tied to vitality. To feel alive is to feel like life still has fire in it, that there are moments worth savoring, that love and connection aren't just reserved for the young. Too many women fall into the trap of believing that once they hit a certain age, passion is gone, intimacy is shallow, and desire is only a memory. But the ones who allow themselves to embrace their longing prove otherwise. They show that aliveness doesn't fade with age. it fades with neglect. When a woman neglects her need to feel alive and feminine, she becomes numb, restless, and disconnected. But when she embraces it, when she allows herself to touch that part of her soul again, she lights up in ways that make her unforgettable. The beauty of this craving is that it doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require her to look like she did at 25, or to live without wrinkles, or to reverse time. It requires presence, attention, intimacy, and self-acceptance. When she is with someone who truly sees her, not just her body, but her essence, she comes alive. When she looks in the mirror and allows herself to see beauty in the woman she is today, she reclaims her feminine power. It is not about denying age. It's about owning it with grace, with fire, and with unapologetic authenticity. Every middle-aged woman feels this pull, even if she doesn't say it out loud. She wants to feel like her femininity is not a thing of the past, but a force that still shapes the present. She wants to feel like she can still move through the world with presence and allure. She wants to feel like the years have not stolen her radiance, but rather deepened it. And that craving is not weakness, it is strength. It is the whisper of her soul reminding her that she is not just alive, but that she is meant to live fully, passionately, and beautifully. Society teaches women to hide their deepest desires as they age. From the time they are little girls, women are bombarded with messages about what they should be, how they should look, and what is acceptable to want. When they are young, their beauty and vibrancy are celebrated, almost expected, and the world makes space for their dreams and desires. Compliments come easily, attention is abundant, and femininity feels like a natural part of existence. But as the years go on, those same messages change. Suddenly, the very desires that once made her radiant are treated as selfish, silly, or inappropriate. A woman in her 40s or 50s who admits that she craves passion, intimacy, or to feel truly desired is often judged more harshly than a younger woman expressing the same longing. Society conditions her to shrink, to silence that part of herself, and to accept invisibility as the natural cost of aging. This conditioning doesn't happen overnight. It happens in small, subtle ways. It's in the way advertisements glorify youth and dismiss maturity. It's in the way movies stop casting women over 40 as love interests and instead relegate them to background roles. It's in the way family, friends, and even partners stop noticing her effort, taking her presence for granted. Slowly, these small messages build a narrative that says, your desires don't matter anymore, your worth has an expiration date, and it's time to be satisfied with less. And because this narrative is so deeply ingrained, many women internalize it. They learn to hide their desires not just from others, but from themselves. What does this hiding look like? Sometimes it's in the way she laughs off compliments, brushing them aside as if they don't belong to her anymore. Sometimes it's in the way she convinces herself she doesn't need passion or intimacy, because stability and companionship should be enough. Sometimes it's in the way she avoids looking too long in the mirror, afraid that acknowledging her longing will remind her of everything she thinks she's lost. She buries her desires under responsibilities, under routine, under the armor of business, telling herself that she has no right to want more. But deep down, that hunger never disappears. It lingers like a quiet ache, a whisper that says, there is still more for you. You are still allowed to want. The tragedy is that society often praises her silence. A middle-aged woman who sacrifices everything for others, who never asks for more, who never expresses her own needs is seen as noble, as strong, as selfless. But a woman who dares to claim her desires, who admits that she still wants to feel beautiful, magnetic, and passionately loved is often shamed. She's labeled as vain, selfish, or unrealistic. The world applauds her for serving but criticizes her for craving. This double standard traps her in a cycle where her deepest needs go unspoken and therefore unmet. And yet, there is nothing unnatural about her desire. Wanting to feel alive, desired, and feminine doesn't end at 30, 40, or 50. It doesn't expire with age. It is a fundamental human need that remains as long as she is breathing. But because she is taught to hide it, she often suffers in silence, pretending she's content when her soul is aching for something deeper. You can see it in her eyes when she smiles, but the spark feels dim. You can hear it in her voice when she talks about her life, but there is a heaviness underneath the words. You can sense it in the way she hesitates to admit what she really wants because she fears being judged, dismissed, or laughed at. When women suppress their desires, they don't just lose touch with others, they lose touch with themselves. They forget what it feels like to be fully alive, to have a pulse that quickens, to feel electricity in their bodies and warmth in their souls. They start to believe the lie that they are unworthy of passion simply because of the number on their birth certificate. And in that belief, they not only hide their desires from the world, but begin hiding them from their own reflection. This silencing is not just unfair, it's deeply damaging. It robs women of joy, of connection, of authenticity. It creates a generation of women who walk through life carrying an invisible weight, feeling unseen, unappreciated, and unfulfilled. And yet, despite all of this, the desire remains. It doesn't fade, it doesn't die, it simply waits, buried beneath the surface, hoping for the day she gives herself permission to let it out again. If she does, everything changes. When a woman stops hiding her desires, she reclaims her voice, her power, and her vibrancy. She begins to live not according to society's outdated rules, but according to her truth. She shows the world that longing is not a weakness but a strength, that passion is not a shameful secret but a beautiful right, and that femininity doesn't expire, it evolves. But until that shift happens, society will keep telling her to stay quiet, to settle, to dim her light, and she will keep hiding her deepest desires behind a mask of strength and silence. The place she longs to touch is emotional and spiritual, not just physical. This is where so many people misunderstand women, especially as they move through middle age. The assumption is that what she wants is something shallow or temporary, something fleeting like a physical thrill, but that could not be further from the truth. What she craves goes far beyond the surface. It is about feeling connected on a soul, deep level, about being touched in a way that penetrates her heart and her spirit. She longs for someone to reach that part of her that is rarely acknowledged. The part of her that holds all of her hidden desires, her unspoken fears, and her deepest truths. When she says she wants to feel alive again, it is not just about touch on her skin, but about touch that awakens her whole being. There is a huge difference between physical intimacy and emotional intimacy, and women know this better than anyone. She may receive affection. She may even have moments of physical closeness, but if the emotional and spiritual side is neglected, she will still feel empty. What she longs for is a touch that sees her, that validates her, that makes her feel understood without a single word being spoken. She wants to be held in a way that reassures her she is safe, cherished, and worthy. She wants to be kissed in a way that tells her she is still powerful, magnetic, and unforgettable. That kind of touch doesn't just happen with hands. It happens with eyes that linger, with words that land softly, with energy that says, I see you, I want you, I feel. The emotional and spiritual place she craves is where her femininity and her humanity meet. It is the space inside her that remembers she is more than her roles, more than her responsibilities, more than the labels society gives her. She is not just a mother, a wife, a career woman, or a caretaker. She is a whole, vibrant being with a soul that longs to be recognized. And when someone touches that part of her, it reawakens everything. Her confidence rises, her energy shifts, her laughter returns, and her presence glows because she feels complete again. Often, women in middle age feel as though they've been reduced to their functions. They cook, they clean, they work. They raise children, they solve problems, they hold families together. While all of this is noble and important, it can slowly strip away the feeling of being a woman who is deeply desired and emotionally alive. That is why the longing to touch that emotional and spiritual place never leaves. It is her reminder that she is more than the roles she plays, that her essence is not defined by her duties, but by the way she feels in her heart and soul. This is why even the smallest gestures can mean everything. When her partner pauses to truly look into her eyes, when he takes the time to listen without distraction, when he touches her hand with genuine tenderness instead of obligation, it goes directly to that place she longs for. It tells her she is not invisible. She is not forgotten. She is not just the background of someone else's story. It tells her she is still the main character, still worth being adored, still worth being pursued. And it is in these moments that she feels the deepest sense of intimacy, the kind that doesn't just live in the body but in the soul. It is also why neglect feels so devastating. When her partner stops noticing, when words become routine, when the spark of admiration disappears, she feels as though that sacred place inside of her is locked away, untouched and unacknowledged. The absence of emotional and spiritual intimacy creates a void no amount of routine, physical closeness can fill. It is not enough for her to be touched out of habit. She longs to be touched with intention, with passion, with presence. The truth is, this place inside of her is the very core of her being. It is where her vulnerability lives, where her deepest insecurities hide, but also where her greatest beauty radiates from. When someone reaches that place, they do more than make her feel desired. They make her feel alive in the true sense. It is not about perfection, youth, or surface level attraction. It is about connection, about the invisible electricity that passes between two souls when one says to the other, I see you completely, and I want all of you. That is the place she longs to touch again and again. The place that reminds her she is whole, vibrant, and eternal. It is not bound by time, it does not fade with age, and it is not limited by physical beauty. It is emotional and spiritual, the most sacred part of who she is, and when it is touched, she feels more like herself than ever before. Being truly seen and wanted matters more than gifts or words. For a middle-aged woman, the most powerful form of intimacy isn't found in expensive jewelry, elaborate vacations, or grand gestures that look good on the outside. What she longs for most is to be looked at, really looked at with eyes that notice her, with presence that acknowledges her, with energy that tells her she is still desired. It isn't about the number of roses in a bouquet or the cost of a gift, it's about whether the person she loves sees her essence and reminds her that she is irreplaceable. A woman can be showered with material things, but if she feels unseen in her daily life, those things mean little. She craves connection that is alive and intimate, not surface-level demonstrations that never touch her soul. When she is seen, truly seen, it changes everything. Imagine a woman who has been married for 20 years, raising children, balancing a career, and running a household. Day after day, she shows up, gives her energy, and sacrifices parts of herself to keep things running smoothly. And in the middle of all this, she starts to wonder if her partner even notices her anymore. Does he see the effort she puts in? Does he notice the way she still tries, the way she still longs to be close, the way she still carries passion deep inside her heart? The heartbreaking truth for so many women is that they feel invisible, as though their presence has become a given instead of a gift. That is why being seen holds so much power. It's not about validation from the outside world, it's about intimacy from the person who matters most. To be seen is to feel recognized not just for what she does, but for who she is. It's hearing words that don't just say, "Thank you," but say, "I love the way you make me laugh," or "I can't stop thinking about you," or "You're the most beautiful woman in this room." Those words carry life because they are not routine. They are specific, intentional, and heartfelt. But even more powerful than words are actions. The way he looks at her when she's not expecting it, the way he reaches for her hand in a crowded place, the way he leans in to kiss her slowly as if time has stopped. These moments tell her she is wanted in the deepest way, and no material gift can replace that feeling. When a woman feels wanted, something inside her awakens. She begins to glow differently, her confidence grows, her energy becomes magnetic, and her laughter is fuller because she is no longer questioning her worth. She doesn't have to wonder if she's still desirable, she knows it. And that knowledge transforms not just her relationship but her entire life. She becomes bolder, freer, and more vibrant because she feels safe in the knowledge that she is desired as she is. For a middle-aged woman, this is especially important because society has tried to convince her that her desirability fades with time. To have someone look at her with admiration, hunger, and appreciation is to shatter that lie completely. Gifts and words are easy. Presence is rare. Anyone can say, "I love you," or buy something shiny. But not everyone can make a woman feel like she is the most captivating person in the world simply by the way they show up. That is what she remembers. Not the price tags or the polished gestures, but the stolen glance across a room, the whispered compliment in the middle of a hectic day, the warmth of being held tightly and intentionally. These moments stay with her because they reach the core of her longing. To be seen, to be wanted, to be cherished beyond measure. The emptiness comes when those things are missing. A woman who is surrounded by material comfort but starved of intimacy will feel lonely, restless, and unfulfilled. She will carry that ache quietly, smiling on the outside while feeling invisible on the inside. That is why so many women don't crave more things, they crave more presence. They want someone to pause long enough to look at them and say, "I still choose you, I still want you." That simple acknowledgement has more value than any gift could ever hold. Being seen is about depth, about connection that pierces through the noise of everyday life. It is about someone choosing to notice her when they don't have to, choosing to remind her that she matters, that her presence lights up the room, that her touch is still intoxicating. And being wanted is about energy that says she isn't just a partner in responsibility, she's a lover, a muse, and an inspiration. Together, being seen and being wanted form the foundation of passion that can last decades. Without them, everything else feels hollow. Men often underestimate a woman's need for passion and intimacy later in life. It is a mistake rooted in stereotypes, in cultural conditioning, and in the assumption that as women age, their desires fade away. Many men believe that once the children are grown, once the house is paid for, once stability is secured, that is enough. They assume that their wives or partners are satisfied with companionship, security, and routine. But what they fail to realize is that the hunger for passion doesn't dissolve with age. It often intensifies. As women grow older, they become more aware of the passage of time, more attuned to the reality that every moment is precious, and more determined to experience life in its fullest depth. Passion and intimacy aren't luxuries to her. They are lifelines that keep her spirit alive. The problem is that many men confuse intimacy with obligation. They think that providing financially, being faithful, or simply being present at home should be enough. While those things are important, they don't replace the need for passion. Passion is about energy, about presence, about reminding her that she is still seen as desirable and captivating. It is about making her feel wanted in ways that are both subtle and profound. Without this, a woman begins to feel invisible. She may not say it out loud, but inside she starts to ache for a touch that lingers, a look that tells her she is still magnetic, a kiss that reminds her she is not just loved, but desired. Middle-aged women often carry the weight of silence. They don't always voice these needs because society has conditioned them to believe it's wrong to still want them. They fear being judged as needy, unrealistic, or ungrateful, so they carry that longing quietly even while outwardly appearing content. But that silence can be misleading. A man may believe everything is fine while his partner is secretly starving for intimacy. He underestimates her need because she has learned to hide it, and he confuses her silence for satisfaction. This is where relationships start to drift apart, not because love is gone, but because passion has been neglected. Passion at this stage of life looks different than it did in youth, but in many ways it is richer. It is not about recklessness or fleeting attraction. It is about depth, connection, and presence. A middle-aged woman doesn't necessarily want extravagant displays. She wants authenticity. She wants the kind of passion that comes from someone knowing her deeply and still choosing her again and again. She wants intimacy that is more than physical. It's emotional, spiritual, and intellectual. It is about someone touching not just her body, but her soul. And yet, so many men underestimate the importance of this, assuming that once they've won her heart years ago, the pursuit is over. They don't realize that passion must be nurtured, fed, and renewed no matter how many years have passed. When a man does recognize this need and responds to it, something remarkable happens. His partner comes alive again. She glows differently. She smiles more easily. Her energy shifts in ways that affect every part of her life. She becomes more confident, more radiant, more open because she feels truly desired. This doesn't just benefit her, it transforms the relationship. The intimacy between them deepens, the bond grows stronger, and the love becomes more resilient. A woman who feels desired doesn't retreat into silence. She engages, she gives, she thrives. On the other hand, when her need for passion is underestimated or ignored, it creates distance. Even if she stays, she may feel a quiet loneliness that grows heavier with time. She may still perform the roles of partner, mother, or professional, but inside she feels unfulfilled. This is why so many women describe middle age as a turning point. Either the relationship grows deeper through passion and intimacy, or it becomes a place of quiet resignation. The difference lies in whether or not her partner understands that her need for passion is not a phase of youth, but a lifelong truth. Men often underestimate because they have been taught that desire is primarily their domain, that women's needs for intimacy fade after a certain age. But the reality is that women are wired for connection, for emotional and spiritual closeness that goes beyond the physical act. They want to feel wanted in a way that ignites their spirit and makes them feel alive. This need does not vanish, it evolves, it matures, and it deepens with time. The man who recognizes this and nurtures it will discover that passion in middle age is not only possible, but it can be more powerful and transformative than it ever was in youth. Women must give themselves permission to reclaim their radiance and longing. For too long, many women have been told that once they reach a certain age, they must settle, they must tone it down, they must stop expecting passion or deep desire from life. They are told their beauty is fading, their options are limited, and their worth is measured only by what they can give to others. And so, many women hide away their deepest longings, convincing themselves that it's too late to ask for more. But the truth is, no one else can give her the permission she is waiting for. It has to come from within. She has to decide that her longing is not shameful, that her desire is not foolish, and that her radiance is not something she left behind years ago. It is still within her, waiting to be reclaimed. This permission is about more than romance. It is about a way of living. To reclaim her radiance is to stop apologizing for wanting to feel beautiful, to stop downplaying the parts of herself that crave attention, passion, and adventure. It is giving herself space to dress in a way that makes her feel powerful, to laugh in ways that shake the room, to express emotions without fear of judgment. It is deciding that her life doesn't end at 40 or 50, but that it can, in fact, begin again in a richer, deeper way. This shift requires courage, because it means defying the quiet rules that society places on her. It means saying no to invisibility, no to silence, no to the idea that desire has an expiration date. When a woman gives herself permission, everything changes in how she carries herself. She walks differently, not because she is younger or because she is flawless, but because she is free. Her energy radiates outward, and people notice even if they can't explain why. That spark she thought was lost is still there. It just needed her acknowledgement. And the beauty of it is that this radiance is not about competing with younger women, not about trying to turn back time, but about embracing her femininity exactly as it is now. Radiance at middle age comes with layers of wisdom, resilience, and depth that youth cannot imitate. It is captivating because it is authentic, not forced. Reclaiming longing is just as essential. Desire is often framed as something inappropriate for women once they reach a certain age, but desire is what keeps her alive. It is what gives her energy, creativity, and passion. Longing is not something to be silenced. It is something to be honored. It is the reminder that she is still human, still vibrant, still meant to experience intimacy, closeness, and joy. Giving herself permission to long again means being honest about what she wants, whether that is more connection, more intimacy, or simply more moments where she feels alive. It means refusing to pretend that she is satisfied with half of what she truly craves. This reclamation often begins with small steps. Looking in the mirror and choosing to see beauty instead of flaws. Allowing herself to accept compliments instead of brushing them away. expressing her desires to her partner without fear of rejection, saying yes to experiences that make her heart race, whether it's dancing, traveling, or rediscovering a creative passion she once abandoned. Each act of permission chips away at the layers of silence and shame that have been built over the years. Each choice brings her closer to her authentic self. The truth is, no one else can do this work for her. A partner can support her, society can shift its narratives, but ultimately she has to decide she is worthy of living fully. She has to embrace the truth that she is not past her prime, because her prime is not a single moment in time, it is every moment she chooses to live with passion. By giving herself permission, she sets herself free from the expectations that have held her back. She no longer waits for someone else to validate her. She validates herself. She chooses her own radiance, her own longing, and her own power, and in doing so, she not only transforms her own life but inspires others to do the same.